today on Light of the Word with Pastor Ray.
Even with all the conniving, the promise of God and the blessing still gets pronounced. And people can go, I'll say, all things work together for good in the end. True. The ultimate purpose of God will be fulfilled, and no man, government, or program can unturn that, usurp that, or make it fade away. Your inheritance in heaven is sure and true. Your promise that you will walk on heaven's shore, nothing can change that.
Open your heart to us, Lord, so we can know your word. We come before you, Jesus. Speak to our hearts as we discover your love for us. How wide, how deep, how far. Pour into us so we can learn to follow. One surrender at a time. You have made the way for us to know you, a path that's straight and right. By the light of the word.
Often things happen in spite of us. The story would look the same with or without you in it. Maybe you micromanaged a coworker's assignment. You gave suggestions, but he went his own direction, and the client raved about his work. Today, Pastor Ray reminds you that this is often what happens in your walk with God. You make mistakes and even choose to deliberately walk outside of His will. But in the end, you cannot thwart His plans. Wouldn't it just be easier to submit to His will in the first place? Well, let's join Pastor Ray in the book of Genesis chapter 27 for today's edition of Light of the Word.
My birthday, we had ice cream cake. The next day, I was like, I could go for some more of that ice cream cake. I go to the kitchen freezer, there's no ice cream cake there. I go out to the freezer that's in the garage, there's no ice cream cake in there. I go, I know there's like half the cake left. So I send Renee a text and I said, hey, where'd the ice cream cake go? And she goes, it's in the deer freezer. It's the one with the most room. Yeah. So I'm thankful. This would have been a long wait. Isaac would have been like, where in this world? Someone call Domino's. 6-8. So Rebekah spoke to Jacob, her son, saying, indeed, I heard your father speak to Esau, your brother, saying, bring me game and make savory food for me, that I may eat it and bless you in the presence of the Lord before my death. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice according to what I have commanded you. If you notice verse 5, notice how Esau is his son, and then when Rebekah gets involved here, we're going to see that Isaac is her son. That makes it interesting to me, takes me back to that connecting as parents, body, spirit, and soul, all kids on all planes. And then verse 9 and 10, here's what's missing in Rebekah. Go now to the flock and bring me from there 2 choice kids of the goats, and I will make savory food from them for your father, such as he loves. Then you shall take it to your father that he may eat it, and that he may bless you before he dies. What's missing here? It's like the last time we read about her. She had 2 kids in her womb. They were fighting. The children struggled together, Genesis 25, with her, and she said, if all is well, why am I like this? So she went to inquire of the Lord. Lord, I don't understand what's going on here, what's happening here. God will speak, and he will say, and the Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, 2 people shall be separated from your body. 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. This is the word of the Lord spoken to her. But she went to understand what's going on through inquiring of the Lord at the altar of prayer. And here she is now. We see this picture. She comes to this place, and what doesn't she do? Because what is missing? She doesn't come to the altar in prayer and go, man, what do you want to do here? My husband's getting ready to go against your word. He's going to bless Esau. You told us, and he knows, that it's to go to Jacob. So she doesn't. And then what happens? I don't need to pray. This is what makes logical sense to me. We're going to do this switcheroo thing. And so here comes the mess that it comes from, the switch, verse 11 through 29. And Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, look, Esau, my brother, is a hairy man, and I am smooth-skinned. Perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall seem to be a deceiver. It's laughable. Hey, we're going to deceive Dad, but, what if, he figures out that I'm a deceiver? And I shall bring a curse on myself and not a blessing. But his mother said to him, let your curse be on me, my son. And it will. She will never see him again for 20 years. She will die before she sees him ever again from this moment. 20 years, she'll never see him again. Verse 14, and he went and got them and brought them to his mother, and his mother made savory food tasty, such as his father loved. And Rebekah took the choice clothes of her elder son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And she put the skins of the kids of the goats on his hand, on the smooth part of his neck. Then she gave him the savory food, the bread which he had prepared, into the hand of her son Jacob. So, anybody see a goat lately? Anybody ever see a goat? They're not furry. They're hairy, coarse hair. So, this goat skin, Phil dressed the goat, got a smooth side, and then they tan it, make it soft, make a blanket out of it or whatever it is. And then you can use it as a carpet or insulation, blankets. So she takes that and she puts it on his neck and puts it on his hand, because that's how hairy Esau is. His name means hairy. When he came out, they go, wow, that's a lot of hair. But it's interesting, she goes and gets his clothes that are in the house. And the reason that is they're not living across the street. They're not living 10 miles away or in the next neighborhood as it was then. And so it continued on through the nation of Israel. There was an allotment, if you would, that would come, and the kids built on to the Father's house. Jesus would say, you've heard it said, and where I go, I prepare a place for you. There are many mansions where I go, and I prepare a mansion for you. The word literally means room, because when the son would marry and bring his bride, they would build a room onto the Father's house. And so that's a beautiful thing, because I don't want a mansion in heaven that's 10 blocks away. I want a room next to my Savior. I want to wake up and have coffee with him. If we sleep, I don't know how that's going. I just want to have coffee with him. So Esau's in the house, still at this age. Don't know how all that played in with these women, but she goes, gets his clothes, meaning he's still living there, puts this suit on of deception, and then we're going to see one lie will never be enough. So he went to his father and said, my father. And he said, here I am. Who are you, my son? It's a questioning like, which son are you? Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done just as you told me. Please arise, sit and eat of my game, that your soul may bless me. But Isaac said to his son, how is it that you have found it so quick, my son? And he said, because the Lord your God brought it to me. Absolutely zero fear of the Lord. He's at this place. There is no fear of the Lord. He would actually use the name of the Lord to feed his story and his lie. And if you notice, now he has to build on his lies. That's why Jesus said the truth will set you free. It's the truth of Jesus Christ and the freedom of sin, and we can live the prosperous life free of all those things. But the truth that we speak and live to, it sets us free. You never have to remember the truth, because the truth is always going to bring itself. But you will always have to remember your lie and try to remember the order you put it. And one lie will never be enough to keep telling your story. You have to tell more and more lies to bring in this deception. And so there's no fear here. Here we see Jacob, even if he believes I'm doing something because the spiritual heritage was promised to me, he's now in this place of, but I'm going to have to use the work of the flesh. And anytime we're going to get involved with the things of the Spirit and try to bring in the works of the flesh, here's the mess that it brings. It will always be the mess of the flesh. We've read that all the way through this So verse 21 through 29, Isaac said to Jacob, "Please come near that I may feel you, my son, whether you are really my son Esau or not." So Jacob went near to Isaac, his father, and he felt him, and he said, "The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hand are the hands of Esau." And he did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands, so he blessed him. Then he said, "Are you really my son Esau?" He said, "I am." And he said, verse 25, "Bring it near to me, and I will eat my son's game so that my soul may bless you." So he brought it near to him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. When his father Isaac said to him, "Come near now and kiss me, my son." And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled him, and he smelled his clothing, and blessed him, and said, "Surely the smell of my son is like the smell of the field which the Lord has blessed." No fear. Continue with the lie. And here we see the blessing. Verse 28 and 29. "Therefore may God give you of the dew of heaven, of the fatness of the earth, of the plenty of the grain and wine." First blessing is a material blessing. The second part, "Let people serve you and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brethren, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be those who bless you." So the blessing that would come from the patriarch passing it down to the oldest son was usually the order it should be. They would get a double portion. And the purpose of the double portion was, I'm giving you a double portion because you're not going to be able to spend as much time working in the field and whatever it may be, because you are now assuming the role and position as the family spiritual priest. You now have to lead your brothers and sisters into the spiritual promises and understanding of the Lord. That's why they got a double blessing. And so here, the blessing still holds, which is quite interesting to me, in that even with the deception, even with all the conniving, the promise of God and the blessing still gets pronounced. And people can go, I'll say, all things work together for good in the end. True. The ultimate purpose of God will be fulfilled, and no man, government, or program can unturn that, usurp that, or make it fade away. Your inheritance in heaven is sure and true. Your promise that you will walk on heaven's shore, nothing can change that. But here's what does happen. Though that ultimately is fulfilled through the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the great nation Israel, we don't agree with everything, but that's a different topic. They gave us the word of God that we get to sit here and study and glean from. And secondly, through them came the Messiah, who delivers us from our sin. But here's what you'll see. Although those things couldn't be undone, who could stop the Lord Almighty? No one can stop the Lord Almighty. Here's what they did stop. The family is destroyed. The family is splintered. Rebekah will never see her son again. And these boys will be at odds all the way to the point. Let's finish and read it. The great regret. Verses 30 through 40. "Now it happened as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob had scarcely gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from hunting. And he also made savory food and brought it to his father, and said to his father, 'Let my father arise and eat of his son's game, that your soul may be blessed.' But his father Isaac said to him, 'Who are you?' So he said, 'I am your son, your firstborn Esau.' Then Isaac trembled exceedingly and said, 'Who? Where's the one who hunted game and brought it to me? I ate all of it before you came, and I have blessed him, and indeed he shall be blessed.' When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with exceedingly great and bitter cry. He said, to his father, 'Bless me also, O my father.' But he said, 'Your brother came with deceit and has taken away your blessing.' And Esau said, 'Is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and now look, he has taken away my blessing.' And he said, 'Have you not reserved a blessing for me?' Then Isaac answered and said to Esau, 'Indeed, I've made him your master, And all his brethren I have given to him as servants. With grain and wine I have sustained him. What shall I do now for you, son? And Esau said to his father, have you only one blessing? My father, bless me. Oh, my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. You know, just imagine. So if you're looking at him, he stole my birthright. No, you sold it for a cup of pottage. And now here the switch is, the pottage meeting passes the blessing on. Just an amazing thing that when you look like that. But can you just imagine this? Just imagine if when Jacob all those years ago said, sell me your birthright, that Esau would have responded like this. Oh no. This is the greatest inheritance that I have, that I get to be the oldest, and I get to be the spiritual priest of this home, and I get to be the special place with the Lord, and I get to pass that on to you and your children and my children and children's children. Could you imagine how he's crying right now and responding if that's how he would have responded those years ago? And to which I say, church Christian, your spiritual heritage treasure is your greatest treasure. There's nothing that can compare. Put the stack. God's up here, big gap before family and country. Where up here, Lord, everything else just pales in comparison. And just for some quick notes, because we'll weave this in theologically, but I know bringing this close is when you read Romans chapter 9, and it says God loved Jacob and hated Esau. Not that he hated him as a person, and that's how theology gets twisted when you get into the book of Romans. He hated that he despised the spiritual things. That's what he hated. You sold for bowl, flesh, immediate now, all the spiritual greatness that I offered you and the depths of it. And then in Romans 12, gives commentary for what we have. He's crying, but he's not crying about losing the spiritual blessing. He's crying, Hebrews tells us, for you know what afterwards, when he wanted to inherit the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no place for repentance, though he sought it diligently with tears. He's crying, but he's not repentant. He is absolutely not sorry that he sold his birthright and the spiritual heritage and the spiritual promise and future. He's sorry that he's not getting the double material blessing. And that's what God puts and racks in there for us. But he still gets a blessing. Then Isaac, his father, answered and said to him, behold, your dwelling shall be of the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. But your sword shall live, and you shall serve your brother, and he shall come to pass when you become restless, that you shall break his yoke and from his neck. And that's very prophetically going to come. Through Esau comes the Edomite. They're going to be a great nation. Eventually, though, they're going to turn and they're going to break away from Israel and be their own people. But it's going to take about 1,000 years. And then we read the last 5 verses here, the revenge, verse 41 through 46. So Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which the father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the day of mourning for my father are at hand. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. As soon as dad dies, I'm going to kill him. So all that he has to comfort himself with is hatred. Then the words of Esau, her older son, were told to Rebekah. So she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, surely your brother Esau comforts himself concerning you by intending to kill you. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, arise, flee to my brother Laban in Haran, and stay there a few days until your brother's fury turns away. Sin, lying, deception, it's never for a few days. She will never see him again. And stay with him a few days until your brother's fury turns away, until your brother's anger turns away from you and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereaved also of both of you in one day? They might both have killed each other in the battle, or one of the servants enacted justice for manslaughter that Esau would have done. And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob takes a wife of the daughters of Heth like those who are the daughters of the land, what good will my life be to me? So she's going to paint another deceptive story. Hey, Isaac, I told him to go find a wife. We don't want him marrying these Canaanite women. We know how bad that's going to turn out. So she builds on and she adds on to that. And so all that would have took, just one of them, to humble themselves. And all this would have just dissipated. If just one of them would have come lowly, if one of them would have come with humility. So many characteristics of Jesus Christ. I think one of the greatest characteristics of Jesus Christ that we can have is humility. Jesus himself in Philippians 2, read verses 1 through 11, he did not consider right. He humbled himself to become the God-man. And he would speak to us, Matthew 11, 28 and 30, come to me, all you who labor heavy laden, I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Matthew 21, here he is riding on the triumphal entry. All this was done that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet, saying, tell the daughter of Zion, behold, your king is coming to you lowly and sitting on a donkey, a colt, a foal of the donkey. Here's what humility means. Because maybe you have a Genesis 27 story. It's our life. We live in this world. Humility, it's not self-deprecation, saying, oh, woe's me, I'm nobody. We were created by the King. We're the treasures of heaven. So that's not humility, saying, I'm nothing. God's made you something. Made you a son, his daughter. It elevates you, esteems you. And it's not weakness. Humility, it's regarding God's supremacy. And that we're just the creation. It is putting others first. It is being teachable, obedient. And then lastly, it's to serve rather than to be served. Humility is this one thing. I want to take you, that person, and my job is to take you to see him in the greatness of his glory. My job, our job, how can I get you from here to see into the eyes of the Lord, to know your treasure, your worth, to go deeper in him and all that he is to you and all that he wants to be to you. Could you imagine if just one of these in the story would have said, I'm going to stop this right now because I want to take these other three to the presence and the glory of God. I want to take you so that you can see your treasure, your worth, and his word's undeniable. I want to take you and lead you to these type of things. Humility is one of the most powerful characteristics of Jesus Christ that he wants to give to you and me. It's probably one of the hardest things to take and be because of our pride and because of we just miss it. We can be so busy with all the other things and just not realize missing my job, my existence on this earth. If you come to see me, you've come to see my Jesus. Let me take you to him so that you can understand him more and see the glory of him, the glory that you are before him, and he has a place waiting for you.
You have made the way for us to know you, a path that's straight and right. By the light of the world.
You've been listening to Light of the Word. One of my favorite characters in the Bible is Joseph. What a man of upstanding character and perseverance. He endured many false accusations and was tested in multiple ways, but he passed with flying colors. We're not just talking about his coat of many colors. Although he received this from his father, Joseph's strength of character was far richer in color than any piece of clothing. Joseph was hated by his brothers, betrayed and brought low, as he was sold as a slave. But throughout his life, he kept being brought low, only to be raised up into a position of authority or leadership. Have you ever considered that this might be a refining process that God has in mind for you too? Ultimately, it was through this roller coaster of situations that God used Joseph to help rescue his entire family from famine and death. Next time you're in a valley, questioning what God is doing, look to the story of Joseph, reminding yourself that God has an interesting way of lifting people up who seek to honor Him in their lives. To find out more encouraging content from the book of Genesis, you'll find it at lightoftheword.info. We come to you from Calvary Chapel of Anne Arundel County in Glen Burnie, Maryland. Join us next time for Light of the Word, illuminating the heart of God.
You have made